Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this webinar today. My name is Rebecca Gooch. I'm the Director of Quality Training and Development here at NCC Education. This webinar today will cover global examination release and submission. Just before we start, just some caveats to today's webinar. The information that you will be seeing is in test version, so any information that you will see on the screen with regards to emails or any names, for example, they are all fake, so they are not real, so just for GDPR purposes. The Q&A questions in the chat is live, so if you have any questions during this webinar or after the webinar, please submit these, and then we'll take them away, compose some responses, and go from there. Just to go over some queries with regards to some we've received over the past couple of days. Mark Structures assessments for other assessments will be uploaded onto Quartz today under live assessments, but I will demonstrate that today. So today, what we are going to be covering, if I just share my screen with yourself. Will be global examination release and submission. So the aim of this session to go over key documentation, how we're going to release the global examinations, how to check your registrations, and the submission of global examinations following the students taking the exam. So key documentation are under different areas. So they're under documents and forms, live submission, and malpractice and maladministration section that I will demonstrate in just a moment. They are always available for you, for example, all the blank documentation for examination release and what you will need for your examinations to take place. Normally this is with the examinations officer, but also this could be with a centre administrator as well. So if you go under documents and forms on your home screen, as you can see, there are different sections here on the compartments within the NCC Education. What you'll be able to see on here as well is examination blank documentation. So your Chief Invigilator's report, seating plan, and irregularities report, and examination blank answer booklet. So everything is on there for you to download. Under quality assurance policies, we have all the guides there to support you on our policies of academic regulation, malpractice, and maladministration. One of the key things that we are asking centres to do before we release the global examinations and way before the centre the students take the exam, all students should now be registered for the correct component. And there are specific ways in which that you can do this on Quartz. What we'd like you to do is go into your centre reports, and what you will be able to do is check who is registered in the correct cycle using your examination schedule. So if you click on this here, it'll take you to this filters here. You choose the correct cycle. I'm just going to choose winter for this example, just because I know I've tested some registrations in there, but you'll see all your autumn 2023 registration submissions. You can select the correct level. You can filter that as well. You can also filter by centre if you are a multi-centre delivery site, and you can also filter by cohorts. Once you view the report, this will come up here. You're able to check the programme name or qualification name, the component name, and who is registered. What you're then able to do from there is export it to Excel and then filter as per the global examination registrations. That will show you detail of every student that are registered for the correct component. And what I'll do later on in this webinar, I'll show you and demonstrate additional checks that you can do. And if a student isn't registered, what the next steps will be. So moving forward, our global examination release, this will be available from the 10th of September to the 13th of September. We've been in contact with our regulators with regards to our malpractice, maladministration kind of policy and processes. Previously, centres have released this quite a few days in advance, and this creates a significant risk in malpractice for obvious reasons. What we're able to do now with Quartz is we will be releasing that on the 10th of September. So when you come in on the Monday, the 11th, you're able to print the question papers, download all your documentation in time for the exams to take place on the 12th of September. The examination will be available to you from the 10th to the 13th of September. So obviously following the examination, once you start to upload, which I'll demonstrate in just a moment, that will then close down. The question paper will not be visible from the 13th of September. So where do you view this on Quartz? If you go to your homepage, under live assessments, what you will see is global examination release. What you will see here is all the question papers in relation to the qualification that you are accredited for. So you won't see every single examination paper for all of our qualifications. You will only see the question paper that you are accredited for. So for example, if you are accredited for level 3 DC, you will only see the question papers for level 3 DC global examinations in this section. You're then able to download the PDF and then print that out ready for your students to take the examination the following day. I'd just like to stress that these question papers should not be shared with any tutors unless they are an examination officer, which we understand that some are. Should not be shared with any students, especially to reduce that risk of malpractice. They should be what we are called embargoed until the actual day of examination. They should be kept and stored in a secure place, which is on site, to make sure that we reduce the risk of any malpractice occurring. So following on from there, once the examinations have been released and after you've done your registration checks this week, the students are then able to take the examinations on the 12th of September. Just to reiterate with your registration checks, you can use your examination schedules report. For autumn 2023, if there are any students that haven't been registered on the registration deadline, please contact your CSE by Friday the 8th of September. On this occasion, because the registrations were before we went live with Quartz, our CSEs will add those additional students for you. What's really important here to remember that any late registrations from this point will incur a late registration fee, but we will do this on your behalf for autumn 2023. For winter 2023 and all of the subsequent cycles moving forward, you'll be able to do this from your Quartz homepage. Just to reiterate as well, late registration fees will apply. On top of that, if on the day of the exam, if you have students that are sitting the exam that do not appear on your attendance register, and they will be available for you to check before the examination takes place as well. If students are not on that attendance register and you manually write the student's name, they will not be counted at all. No extension can be applied for that student. You will not be able to register that student on the day of the exam, and we will not take that in consideration when we send the scripts to our markers to mark. You must ensure that all of your students are accounted and registered for against the correct component. That is your responsibility as a centre. So please ensure that you do your due diligence this week and you check using your centre reports and examination schedules that your students are registered for the correct component. If there are students missing, please contact your CSE as soon as possible and they will be able to register learners, but that will incur a late registration fee. Again, our documentation are under live assessments for you to download upon the results release. So examination slips, attendance register and blank documentations are also available. So examination register and examination slips. If you go onto your homepage, bear with me 1 second. If you go into centre reports and you're able to download your attendance register and examination slips, you put the corresponding date. So for obvious reasons, this will be the date of the examination. You can also select the centre. And when you do that, the attendance register, which is very, very similar to what we have been using, will be downloaded. This is a test, so none of these names are actually real. What it means that the ID will also show, and you'll also have a space for candidate signature. So that's where you will download your attendance registers and your examination slips as well. And just a reminder, you can access all your blank documentation under 2 areas. That'll be documents and forms and live assessments. And when the global exams are released on the 10th of September, you'll be able to access them also. So once the candidates have actually taken their exam, what happens next with some submission. It's really, really important that for the submission, you follow the guidance and steps that are outlined to you on the submission page. So what happens in this instance? So this is an example that what would happen. To enable for you to then upload the materials for marking, you go into your cohort, and what you need to make sure it's the correct cycle and qualification that you are submitting. So for example, if I'm submitting marking and scripts for marking for winter 2023 for level 5 diploma in business, I will go to this cohort and it will give me this page. Here again, you can check whether you are on the right qualification and the right cycle. There are a number of things that you'll be able to do. You can also do a check here to make sure that all the students that have been registered into that exam are there. You can actually do that now as well. That's available for you. Once the students have sat the examination and you've gathered all your evidence, you will select Upload Materials for Moderation. This will then take you to the following page. This will give guidance on how to submit all the documentation ready for submission. Before that, what we would like you to do, and is mandatory for all centres, we want you to confirm the attendance electronically. So to do that, you go to Learning Registrations and select Attendance. This will then take you to this page. You then select the correct components. So for example, Advanced Business in Maths. This is an example. What will happen with this? It will give you a drop down. You must select a specific status for that centre during the drop down. So whether that student has been present, whether they are absent, whether they have been deferred to a different cycle, whether this is a resit for the centre, but we will for the student, so we will have that information also, or whether this student has actually been withdrawn from the qualification. We understand that maybe sometimes that information hasn't come to NTC as yet. It may be a student that's only just decided to, unfortunately, not continue with their studies. So you must select a specific status for that student. If the student is present, you go down the list and select Save. This will then give the student a category of present. That tells us straight away that that student has sat that examination. After you've done the attendance electronically, you are then able to upload all of your materials as per qualification and a global examination. Here is your checklist that you specifically need to follow. This information must be uploaded as a zip file. Please do not send RAR files. We ask for a zip file, so it's easy for everybody to open, especially our markers and especially us as well. Please only upload this as a zip file. Also, there are specific reminders on this page for a completed attendance register, as in a physical register as well as an electronic register. So we have the candidate signatures there as well. Here again is a reminder and example of how to save your files within the zip file. And below, you must select a document type and a document subtype. So for example, what you'll see in this option, it'll say Global Examination Submission. But for this purpose, I'll just select that. What you will then see is a list of all the components that you have completed or the students have completed an examination for. You must ensure that the correct qualification and component is the correct for the students that you are submitting. What happens then, if you want to put any notes into the documents, you're more than welcome to. You select the zip file, upload it and press submit, and that goes to us. Just a reminder that any missing documentation constitutes as malpractice. So please ensure that before submitting, you have done your due diligence and you've checked the materials that you are uploading for marking. Any materials that haven't been submitted may not be taken into consideration for that specific student, and it may constitute as malpractice, and we may not be able to mark it for that student. So it's really, really important that you ensure that you do your due diligence and make sure that everything is there for the students. The checklist is there for you to do. Once you've submitted, you will get a confirmation email to say that you've submitted your samples for marking. We call it moderation, but your samples for marking. This will then be sent to our markers and our marking process will begin. It really, really is as simple as that. So just to have a bit of a recap from here as well, for submission, please select the cohort. You confirm the attendance electronically, as well as the students handwriting their signature on the attendance register that you can pre-download. Select upload materials for moderation. Do your due diligence, go through the checklist, make sure you've submitted the correct information that we require. Any missing documents, again, may not be counted for marking for that specific student. Please only submit a zip file, and as per our policy and guidance, please do this within 48 hours. And that concludes kind of the global release of examinations and submission. What I'd like to draw your attention to next is our further webinars following this webinar. So on the 3rd and 4th of October, that is down to centre result submission and moderation, and how to use more centre reports that we release across the subsequent weeks. Any questions about this webinar or any future questions, please put it in the chat, put it in the Q&A, contact your customer support executive, and we can move forward and answer any further questions from there. Again, our Quartz Support Hub will be added to on a weekly basis. You'll be able to access documents, forms, videos. This webinar will also be added to the site after this concludes, and we download it and upload it. There'll also be links for future webinars in there as well, and any documentation and guides that we currently have. What you might find as well, for example, in results submission and moderation, that is just a link to the webinar at the moment. That's because we want to present the webinar and give centres an opportunity to attend before we conclude and send all the guidance out. This is way in advance of the results submission and moderation. So in the meantime, if you do have any questions with regards to any aspect of Quartz or anything that's not clear, please reach out to your customer support executive, or if it's to do with academic categories, please reach out to your academic standards manager, and then we're more than happy to give you any feedback or answer your questions, or even meet on a quick Teams if you have a team that maybe has some questions to answer. Just a bit of a caveat to that as well. Just to conclude this webinar, we do understand that there's some teething issues still with some reset passwords, but we are onto the case. That will be resolved by today. If you still experience them, please contact your customer support executive. Thank you very much. Any questions that will be posted in here in the chat or in the Q&A will be taken away, and we'll answer those questions directly. Thank you very, very much for joining this webinar this morning. This was scheduled for an hour, but as you can see, really clear, simple steps on global examination release and submission. You were able to watch this webinar back and follow the steps and the guidance. Again, if you have any issues, please contact our customer support executives, or anything related to academic categories, please contact your academic standards manager. Thank you very much for attending this morning, and I wish you a very productive rest of the week. Thank you very much.